Welcome back to Module 6. We just covered one of the major issues that gets in the way of expressing ourselves with integrity, and that is gridlock and conflict. And now we're going to move into the second and final big barrier to self-expression, and that is resentment and issues of trust. And the reason why this is important is because if we've had breaches of trust in our relationship or betrayals, we tend to feel very resentful, and we aren't going to be able to move forward in our relationship until we can repair those resentments and forgive the injuries. So this is going to be a real opportunity to find some healing in your relationship and move forward to get into a better place, clear out some of these negative sentiments that we're hanging on to that are actually forming the interpretive lenses of the present moment. So we can't actually even be in the present moment with our partner if we're hanging on to resentments. So that's why this is so important. First, let's talk about building trust. What exactly is building trust? It's essentially the prevention and reparation of betrayal. And effective repair is the process by which we are able to heal from minor transgressions. Rituals of connection are the things that will actually prevent betrayals from happening in the first place. And then there's forgiveness for heavy-duty injuries that we need to go through the process of doing that. All of these things actually serve to build trust. It's about prevention and it's about reparation. And when I'm talking about betrayal, I'm not really just talking about fidelity or issues of faithfulness in marriage. That's a lot of times what we think of when we imagine breaches in trust. But actually, questions of trust can include, can I trust you to be there for me when I'm upset? Can I trust you to choose me over your friends? Can I trust you to stay sober? Can I trust you to help me with things around the house, to be involved with the children, or just to keep the agreements that we made? That's why the rituals of connection in particular are so important around these questions of trust, and it's because the small things, the agreements that are made and kept over time, day to day, that's a demonstration really of the consistent ways that our partners are there for us. That's what builds trust. And in the same way, the things that cause betrayal is the damage of connection. And this can be small things. This can be not keeping an agreement. This can be turning away from our partner when they're in distress. This can be not being present with the family. All of these things damage connection. Another form of betrayal is negative judgments of our partner. This is actually even more hurtful in many ways than a breach of agreement that we've made, is when we are in a conflict or something is going on and we get to the point where we say, you know what, I'm really sick of this, I'm not taking this anymore, and we start making negative comparisons between our partner and somebody else. Anytime we're really judging and negatively evaluating the character of our partner, that's a really heavy-duty form of betrayal. Now here are some other examples of betrayals. One is a violation of commitment. This is where your commitment to your partner is conditional and that there's still some part of you that's waiting for someone better to come along. You may check out other people, you might flirt, and in other ways suggest that you're still available. Another way you can be violating your commitment is also through illnesses, frequent illnesses, because they sort of take you out of the game a little bit. Arguments, which puts distance between you. Money issues, distance like travel or work. Or when the going gets tough, you consider going. Betrayals of emotional exclusivity is also another kind of betrayal. This is the overt one of flirtation or secret emotional attachments, emotional affairs. Secrets, lies, and deceptions are obviously betrayals, and these include lies of omission, deceptions, violations of confidence, broken promises, and inconsistencies. Coalitions against your partner is a big one too, and this is where you form an alliance with somebody else over against your partner that ends up hurting or excluding them, talking negatively behind their back, that kind of thing. Disinterest is actually a form of betrayal that we don't tend to commonly think of, and this is where we're really disinterested in what they're saying or rejecting of our partner's thoughts, their feelings, or their inner life. That's very hurtful. Also, unfairness or lack of care can be a betrayal. And that's because resources, time, and responsibilities, when they're not shared equally, or if partners are not offering emotional support or understanding, that can cause a lot of hurt and frustration. It's that feeling that your partner just really isn't there for you. Betrayal of affection is pretty obvious. It's essentially coldness or unresponsiveness to bids for connection in the form of holding hands or hugs, things like that. Lack of sexual interest can feel like a betrayal, ignoring your partner's needs for sexual intimacy, physical closeness, and touch. Abuse is obviously a form of betrayal, and this can come in all kinds of styles like social isolation, sexual degradation, extreme jealousy, humiliation in front of other people, belittling comments, jokes that actually really hurt your feelings, threats, property damage, and physical abuse, obviously. Disrespect is also a form of betrayal in that partners don't cherish each other. They may fail to express pride in each other or compliment each other, and instead they ridicule or use sarcasm or behave in contemptuous ways. Not meeting each other's needs is the kind of betrayal where partners they'll basically go against the principle that they should try to meet each other's needs, or at least try to the best of their ability. We can't always meet our partner's every single need, but this type of betrayal comes when you're acting as though a relationship does not entail any kind of giving or sacrifice at times. It's failing to put the other person's needs in the foreground every now and then. And as I talked about already, breaking sacred promises and vows is just another way of breaking agreements. Only in this case, we're talking about something really important to both of you. Not just, for example, you said that you would take out the garbage and you didn't, but something that you hold very sacred and you feel really hurt by. Now, as far as betrayals go, the thing to remember is that betrayals will happen. Okay, the thing that predicts whether or not couples stay together is not whether or not they have betrayals. It's really their ability to have effective repair. That's really what it all comes down to, is being able to turn a negative interaction into a positive interaction. So some interesting statistics about this is that even among highly negative newlyweds, 85% of those who effectively repair will stay happily married. And so this is especially important in that first year of marriage. So what is effective repair? Effective repair keeps couples together by allowing both partners to feel validated and generating a sense of compassion and understanding. Effective repair also expands our capacity to be lighthearted during conflict. And it's really anything that works. It can be accomplished through humor, touch, apologizing, or even just shifting gears. It's really whatever works for you. For example, one partner might say to the other during an argument, "You know, I don't think any of us is listening. Why don't we try that again?" Or, "I need a break." Or, "I'm sorry, I wish I had not said that." Even making a joke or a silly face that makes your partner laugh can be enough. What I found especially interesting in Gottman's research is that the effectiveness of a repair attempt has very little to do with the nature of the repair attempt itself. So for example, perfectly worded repair attempts can fail, but clumsy attempts can succeed. In fact, he found that teaching couples reflective listening and empathy skills actually didn't work as well as whatever they were able to figure out for themselves. And this is because the effectiveness of the repair attempt is actually determined by the person receiving that. And in particular, the amount of money, quote unquote, that they have in their emotional bank account. So if the repairing partner has been a good friend to their partner by putting emotional deposits into the bank account, by doing nice things, for example, being supportive, kind, and loving, they can far more easily repair a broken connection. So in order to repair the relationship, you have to set the stage with rituals of connection, and I'm going to get into that a little bit more in a minute. I want to get into what rituals of connections are before we talk about how to actually do it. Rituals of connection really basically are standard and everyday ways that a couple connects and feels bonded to each other. Rituals of connection are essentially prevention. That means that the rituals of connection that you make now will set the stage for effective repair in the future. So by connecting now, you're preventing betrayal and you're preventing ineffective repair in the future once betrayal has happened. Connection also allows for healing and allows partners to move on, to shift into positivity so we don't hold things against our partner anymore and we don't let it impact our future interactions. Now, there are a lot of ways to ritualize connection into your daily life, and I definitely encourage you to brainstorm about this, what would work for you in your partnership, what helps you feel connected. But I have a suggestion that I'd like you to try. It'll be in the exercises for this week, but I just want to go over it real quick here. First, you write a list of cherishing behaviors. Now, this is a way of identifying behaviors from your partner that make you feel valued and connected. So you write down what you like from them. I love it when you greet me at the door. I feel loved when you give me a shoulder rub. Anything that makes you feel good in the relationship. Both of you do this. Then you exchange the list. You review what's on the list that your partner wrote, and you make a real effort to learn what works to cherish your partner. Is it humor? Is it touch? Is it space? Because it could be different for them. Then also notice what personal barriers that you might have to doing these behaviors and release them. So for example, does greeting your partner at the door make you feel submissive? If so, why is that? And how can you reframe that for yourself? A lot of times when our partner tells us what will work for them, we might have blocks to that, and we have to be able to figure out what that is. And the limiting beliefs video will help you in this too if anything comes up. And finally, make a conscious effort to do things on that list each and every day. This is going to feel forced at first, but it will start to become natural. It works best, of course, when both partners are making the effort, but even if you focus just on your part, you will see shifts. So if you're doing this alone and you're working on this without your partner, that's okay. You can still ask them, what helps them feel loved and cherished, and implement that, and they may do that on their own in response. Now, even if you've prevented betrayals and set up effective repair in your relationship, betrayals can still happen. Maybe you're even dealing with one from a prior time in your relationship. And if that's the case, the focus needs to be not just on prevention, like we've talked about, but on healing. And by healing, I mean forgiveness. Forgiveness is, most simply put, the choice to not allow the past to reframe the interpretation of the present moment. It's our inner response to another's perceived injustice. Now, forgiveness is not the same thing as forgetting. Forgetting or trying to forget actually leads to suppression, which eventually comes back later and definitely backfires. Forgiveness is not condoning or excusing. It's simply the choice to not allow the past to frame your interpretation of the present. And the way that you can tell this has occurred is when you can remember the injury without feeling resentment or a desire to pursue revenge or any other negative things that might come into your mind when you remember the injury. Now, there are two levels of being able to forgive. The first one is clearing resentment, and this really only requires us to express our resentments and make a request. Once we've expressed ourselves and we've been really clear, that may be enough for us to let it go. It could be something that's never really been expressed before, and once we've said it and we've made it clear to our partner, it won't be an issue again. Now, the next level, the process of forgiveness, requires our partner to assist us. So in other words, we're going to need a certain response from our partner in order to let go. Now, this could be a situation in which you've already expressed your resentment, it didn't help, or your partner may have already apologized, but you still haven't forgiven. Anything that was not adequately addressed just by sharing your side of things. This is going to require a little bit more help. Now, I'm going to share a formula for clearing resentment and also for forgiveness. There are other formulas, but these are the two that I think are the most effective. So for clearing resentment, what you're going to be doing, the emphasis really is on, without blaming your partner, focusing on your own feelings, telling your partner what the issue is that you're resentful about, what it represents, and then asking for understanding. Now, your partner's role is going to be to try to deepen the understanding of what happened that made this experience painful for you. So it goes like this. You tell your partner, here's the incident and the feelings I have about the incident. Okay? What are the feelings? What is the incident? You basically just needed to say those two things in any order. What I really would have wanted to happen instead was, and then that's essentially a request. So in the future, if a similar situation were to arise, this is how I would want it to happen. So for example, you could say, I have these feelings of embarrassment about the incident where you made fun of my math skills. What I would have really wanted you to do instead was to remember that I'm sensitive about that, and please just not say anything, especially in front of John. And you can add to this by sharing if this is an old and familiar feeling, if it has roots in your history. So for example, I have a sensitivity to criticism because that's what my family did best. Or my dad used to tease me all the time about things like that, and it really hurts my feelings. It triggers something in me. And in addition to that, you can also share what beliefs and core values that you have that would explain why this incident has this impact on you. So for example, It's important to me that my intelligence is respected in this relationship. It's important to me that you think I'm smart, or it's important to me when I express my feelings and perceptions, whatever the case may be. And if you'll notice, this is really just another form of I statement. You're essentially keeping the focus on yourself. You're not pointing the finger, but you're sharing how something made you feel. And your hope is, of course, that your partner, they'll hear that. They might make some changes around that, but even if they didn't, just having heard you is usually enough when we're talking about clearing resentments. Now, forgiveness, on the other hand, this is usually involved when there's an injury that really needs to be healed through conversation. You're going to require some empathy, some accountability, and you're going to need some help in being able to trust again. That's why we need our partner for this. The process is that the partner who is hurt would speak their pain. So if you're the one that's dealing with something that you have to forgive, it would be you speaking your pain to your partner. And then the injuring partner is going to stay emotionally present and acknowledge the pain, remaining curious. Okay, now if you're the one that's being told something, if let's say you're the transgressing partner, you may not agree with their interpretation, and you may not even think that the way they're responding is correct. But in this case, your role is not to defend yourself or explain how something that you did made it okay. Really, this is the part where you own your part. As much as you can, find what you can own. Now, the hurt partner, in exchange, has to make a commitment to reversing that never again philosophy that came from the injury. You know, in other words, they're going to allow their psyche to update to new information. The hurt partner will let go of this, never again am I going to seek this from you, or never again can I trust you. If you're the hurt partner, you're going to actually seek a willingness and a commitment to trust again. As long as your partner is following the script as well, this should be totally possible. The injuring partner will then take ownership of the injury and express regret and remorse. Now, this cannot be defensive or detached, like, look, I'm sorry, okay? It has to be real. It has to be genuine. The next step is that the hurt partner identifies what they need right now to bring closure to the trauma. And if they don't say it to you directly, then just ask. What can I do to help you through this? What can I do in the future? How can I help you heal? And then finally, when you've done that, together both partners are going to create a new story about the trauma and the impact that it had. And most importantly, they're going to create a new story about how they confronted it and began to heal it as a team. This is really important because it becomes part of your narrative in your relationship. You're able to look back on it and say, not, this person did this and this person responded in this way and this is how it ended. Instead, the narrative becomes, I am able to forgive, or I am able to be forgiven, or I am able to heal my partner's wounds. We are able to grow from this experience. We are able to learn and actually get closer and create a new foundation on which to build our relationship. It's only 6 steps, but it's actually quite involved. It could be a long conversation. You may get to a point where you actually have to press pause at step 3. That's okay. You can come back to it later. So that concludes this portion of Module 6. We are done with Module 6. Be sure to listen to the video on the assignments for this week. There's a lot of good stuff in there. We covered a lot of ground. Bring your questions to the coaching call, and I'm excited to see you inside of Module 7.